We don't split infinitives. So what do you see here? You always get to see prescribed rules, okay? And good language would simply mean compliance with these rules. That's just how simple that is, okay? On the other hand, when we talk about the descriptivist approach, we would see examples of rules this way. So many speakers pronounce in for ing. So, for example, you look fucking great instead of you look fucking great. Okay. Is that correct or incorrect? Again, we don't ask that question. Okay. Because we simply describe how they do it. And what do? They pronounce fucking, as simple as that. Okay. What else, Bob? Maybe we could look at the last example here. In English, qualifying words often appear between the to and the verb in the infinitive phrases. Example, to boldly go. So what do we see here? We're seeing your split infinitive here. Is that correct or incorrect? Again, we do away with such question and simply ask ourselves, so how do native speakers make use of infinitives? And simply say, oh, at times they use split infinitives. Correct or incorrect? That's not the question. Okay? So, what are we saying here now? We're simply saying that the trouble with constructing sentences or the trouble with coming up with a writing usually starts with the question, how do I start? How do I approach this? A lot of times we are bombarded with the dichotomy. What is that dichotomy? Again, we go back to the dichotomy between prescriptivism and descriptivism. Do I approach this with a descriptivist approach, or do I approach this with prescriptivist approach? Unfortunately, we are somehow conditioned to think that they are from two opposing camps, that it's either you're a prescriptivist or a descriptivist in your approach to grammar. And I think that was somehow put forward. I mean, I'm talking about that opposition. I think that is somehow put forward by the oppositions we also see in many references, in many accusations made by one camp against the other camp. For example, a lot of prescriptivists or prescriptivist grammarians would accuse descriptivist users of being anarchists. It's like they don't want any order, so they feel like, oh, they can just make use of any structure. After all, they get to abuse the idea of creativity as the source of language. On the other hand, many descriptivists would actually accuse of prescriptivist grammarians of being bigots. Why bigots? Because they're so tight, so uptight. They wanna like encapsulate us into a corset of rules, and it is as if there's no other way but to follow these rules if you want to sound or appear knowledgeable of the English language. So again, it is because of this apparent opposition that we're made to believe that we have to make a decision ourselves. Like, am I a prescriptivist? Should I approach my writing as a prescriptivist, or am I a descriptivist? And that would mean that I would have to have a descriptivist approach to my writing. This afternoon, I'd like you to consider looking at that dichotomy from the perspective of Steven Pinker. Okay. Uh, If you're not familiar with Steven Pinker, you can just Google his name, or perhaps you can go to YouTube and look for, look for Steven Pinker. You'd get to see a lot of his videos there. Steven Pinker is a cognitive scientist and a well-known linguist. He is this, this guy who looks a lot like Albert Einstein. Yeah, you might think he actually is Albert Einstein by looking at his pictures. Anyway, and he's still alive. I must mention that he's alive, and he is currently serving as a professor for Harvard. Okay, so what does Pinker have to say about this dichotomy? Well, Pinker simply says that the dichotomy between prescriptivism and descriptivism is bogus. It's a false one. How come it's bogus? You go back to the assumption. The assumption here is this: when we talk about prescriptivist rules, we talk about set of standards. We talk about set of rules, claim to be accurate, claim to be true. But who says these rules are true? There's no objective way, according to Pinker, there's no objective way of saying that this rule is correct. This rule is true. Why? Because the idea of standard is a byproduct of what? Of agreement, just by agreement among our experts. Okay. So to say that, prescriptivists are correct simply on the basis that it is, the set of rules claimed to be such by these experts is pretty much unfair. Okay. And another thing, he claims that this dichotomy is no different from the dichotomies of our earlier days, like the dichotomy between the nature and nurture. Is there really such a thing as nature versus nurture? None. Is there really such a thing as, okay, America, take it or leave it? None. In the same manner, he says, the dichotomy between prescriptivism and descriptivism is bogus. Okay, and to claim that one is superior over the other, and to claim that, if you don't follow the prescriptivist approach, would mean that your grammar is entirely wrong, is obviously a bogus claim. And that brings us to the idea of grammar myths. He was the one who started the idea of grammar myths. So what is his point here? His point here is this: we can actually get a lot of valuable thoughts from prescriptivism, but to believe that we have to like embrace everything they say might be a risky one. Why? Because sadly, even prescriptivists have dwelled on what we would call as grammar myths. So what are these myths? Perhaps we can go back to the exercises so I can explain these myths further. Okay? So let's look at exercise 1. A again says it's high time for you and me to talk this over, and B, it's high time for you and I to talk this over. I want to believe that perhaps some of you chose A here for the reason that you have your preposition for. And because you have your preposition for, you might want to believe that you have to follow it up with with an object, object pronoun such as you and me. And obviously, that's the very same rule and very same reason why the prescriptivists would actually make use of A as an option here. So the question is, can we use be here? To tell you quite frankly, grammar rules would tell us, yes, just stick to A. But would that mean I can't use be? What would be the difference? Guys, we talk about standard and non-standard use of the English language. And while it's true that A may be considered standard and B as non-standard, doesn't mean that we can forget using B. After all, to claim that formal or standard is the only version of the language is very limiting, at least from the perspective of our expert, Steven Pinker. Okay, let's go to exercise B. You look at this. A, this app allows users to locate quickly international, national, regional, or local news. B, this app allows users to quickly locate international, national, regional, or local news. What's the difference? Check your infinitives. You have, infinitive. A here says to locate quickly, and B says to quickly locate. So if you chose A, that means you're the type of person who believes that you should not split your infinitives. You should not separate to from locate. On the other hand, if you chose B here, that goes to say that you believe in the idea that, hey, you can play around with the positions of adverbs and you can actually put an adverb between to and your verb in an infinitive. Okay. What's wrong with this structure, you might want to ask, or what exactly is the difference or the issue here? Thing is this, according to our purists, okay, according to our traditional grammarians or hardcore grammarians, you cannot split infinitives. Why can't you split infinitives? Because they're taken as one word. That's just it. You can't split them because infinitives or an infinitive is considered one word. Okay. On the other hand, exposure has taught us one thing, that native speakers are fond of using modifiers, placing modifiers between to and verb. Okay, there. I'm going to explain that further in a while. Okay, third item. A here says she was really depressed. She didn't want to live anymore. B, she didn't want to live no more. What's the issue here? You look at B, what's the problem here? At least from the perspective of prescriptivism. What's wrong with B here? Sorry, you're muted. But yeah, I think everybody here knows the problem has something to do with, let me just check. Very good. Yeah, it has something to do with your double negatives, okay? Or double negation. And thank you for the picture, Sir Darren. Yeah, that's Steven Pinker, okay? Now, so what's the problem with double negation? Since with double negation, you try to like get rid of two negatives, then that would make, your sentence positive. So it's either, you come up with a positive sentence or a negative sentence. That's the idea there. Okay. Oh yeah, that's about it. Fourth item. This is the kind of life to which he has grown accustomed. And B, this is the kind of life he has grown accustomed to. What appears to be the problem in B is the fact that it ends with a preposition. So obviously, guys, purists would always tell us, never end your statement with a preposition like to. So in the question of, the usual question we ask our students is this: where are you from? we're guilty. Apparently, we're guilty of using, using preposition at the end of our question. So to rephrase that, we're given options like, from which city are you? From which country are you? That way, we get rid of the preposition at the end of the question. But that sounds a bit awkward, right? Especially to us Filipinos who are so used to asking, hey, where are you from? Right? Okay. There. Item number 5. Everyone needs to submit his or her homework today. And B, everyone needs to submit their homework today. Because of the consistency in the idea of numbers, you have to make use of your singular pronoun following your everyone, which is considered singular. So everyone singular, his or her singular. Okay, that's just how you do it, at least according to the purists. Okay, but in 2015, Merriam-Webster dictionary came up with the word of the year, and the word of the year was the singular use of they, their. Okay, they, their, singular use of they. Why? For the obvious reason that it's what? Any idea? It goes beyond the issue of gender. So that goes to say, po, use of their, the singular use of they, is a sign or is a symbol of our respect to our LGBTQ plus or plus community or friends. Okay, so we have to recognize that we have friends here who would not want to be called, he or she. And a politically correct way of putting that is using they as singular. Okay, okay, there. Now we go to exercise 6. You have here think differently and think different. If you're a fan of Apple, you know this slogan, think different. That's the slogan of Apple company, right? It obviously received a lot of criticisms from our hardcore grammarians or grammar Nazis for the very reason that you have think here and what appears to be different, which is an adjective and not an adverb. Okay, so the question now is this: was Apple pressured into correcting the grammar in its slogan after receiving the criticisms from our experts, apparently grammar experts? And the answer, no. Okay. Apple decided to stick to think different. Why? Because it was able to justify the idea that in this particular sentence, they're talking about coming up with thoughts. And when they say think different, they're talking about they're talking about their company being able to produce different thoughts or different ideas, that they choose to do things differently. Yeah, that's true. But I want to emphasize thoughts here and not the process of thinking. Okay, that's the idea there. So what is the position of Steven Pinker here? His position is this: the idea that we have to correct this sentence, think different, simply because we know that adverbs should end in ly, is a product of your hypercorrection. Okay, hypercorrection, that was his term. We are so used to seeing, adverbs ending in ly, when the truth of the matter is that even adjectives, what appears to be adjectives, can actually function as adverbs. Who among you would want to correct the lyrics of the song, let's take it slow, into take it slowly? Would you do that? Would freestyle be open to that correction from you? I doubt it, right? Yeah, why? Because it's pretty clear in their intent that they're using, in their their claim that, hey, let's make this, let's not hurry things. That somehow I want to believe that somehow they just prioritize the concept of good sound over what appears to be an issue of accuracy, um, but without disregard of the basic rule that adverbs, follow verbs. Okay. Now going to the seventh item, we have here A. I hope that we will know the result today, and B. Hopefully we will know the result today. Any one of you who were born during my time, quote unquote, might be familiar with the style guide written by White and Strong, Elements of Style. And in that particular style guide, uh, Strong mentioned that we can actually do away with the word or the adverb hopefully, especially especially if you choose to use it this way. Why? Because of the idea that hopefully is not what you might consider as an absolute adverb. What are absolute adverbs? Let me just give you a review, a quick review. There are adverbs like sadly, fortunately, that you might want to put at the start of your sentence to describe or modify the whole sentence. So in a sentence like, oh yeah, uh, Ramon Revilla Jr. is still our senator. Suppose you're not happy about it, you can make use of your relative adverb and say, oh, sadly, or unfortunately, Ramon Bonrevilla is still our senator. So you have there an absolute adverb modifying the whole sentence. Okay, so what's the connection between that and hopefully? No connection at all. Why? Because hopefully does not work the same way as sadly, unfortunately, and all these, absolute adverbs do. Why? Because, the dictionary, even the dictionary use of hopefully would tell us that it's just an ordinary adverb. When I say ordinary adverb, its function is to describe a verb and not a whole clause. Okay, there you have it. And exercise 8, it says here, John could always make her laugh regardless of her misery. And B, John could always make her laugh irregardless of her misery. Is anyone here guilty of using irregardless? I wonder. Has anyone in the group, yeah, made use of irregardless one time or another? I wonder. I wondered. Mm-hmm. I hope. Um, yeah. I'm not saying one. Oh, but I'm still, part of me would hope, yeah, somehow you've tried making use of this. Here's the thing. If you've been reading recently, perhaps you've seen the article coming from Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and the article actually recognizes the existence of irregardless. And that makes me think, is it because of so many Filipinos, joke, so many Filipinos using irregardless? That's the truth. Merriam-Webster considered, accepting irregardless as a word simply because of the numbers of times it has been used. And, apparently, at least according to the history of words, the word irregardless has been in existence for over 200 years now. Okay. Now you might want to ask, but look at that word. You have less, that's negative, and ir is supposed to be a negative prefix. But apparently, guys, ir here in this particular word is not used as a negative prefix. It is used as an intensifier. It is used as a form of emphasis. Ir as an emphatic way of putting things. Okay, that's the idea there. And now you might want to ask, would there be a difference between regardless and irregardless? The answer, no difference. Now you might want to ask, but how do we label irregardless then? Well, at least until now, it's still, at least based on the article, it's obviously considered a non-standard, a non-standard vocab. But just because it's non-standard does not mean that Merriam-Webster should not recognize it, okay, and accept it as, as a word there, okay. Now we go to exercise 9. A, it isn't over till it's over, and B, it ain't over till it's over. Sounds familiar? I mean, is B familiar to you? Of course, because it's a line from a famous song, right? Just don't make me sing it. Yeah, just don't. Okay. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about this. So what's the problem with ain't? Well, according to White and Strunk and White, again from the writer of that Elements of Style guidebook, ain't is not a word. It is as if there's no meaning attached to it, and it's supposed to be non-existent. That's the claim of Strunk. On the other hand, are we really sure that ain't is not existing, is not, it does not exist? How many times have you heard it? How many times have you heard, a native speaker using the word ain't? So would that mean that it's not existing? It does exist, obviously. Okay. There. And exercise 10, the last item we have here. A, he is keen on speaking his thoughts on certain issues and I like it. B, he is keen on speaking his thoughts on certain issues and I like it. So what appears to be the problem in letter B? Oh, obviously, we grew up hearing from, our oldies, from our English teachers in particular, the idea that we are not supposed to start, a sentence with a conjunction like and, but, diba? Or especially those who did journalism back in school, you learn that by heart, I'm pretty sure. Okay, but can't we really use that? Well, Steven Pinker says if not using it would make us fall into the trap of coming up with a mega sentence, then let's just split our ideas and make use of conjunctions. After all, by doing that, we can make our ideas a bit clearer, perhaps. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, now just to end this, I would want us to go back to the idea of Steven Pinker again when it comes to the dichotomy here. One of the reasons why we should not, feel like we have to absorb everything that our purists would, force into our throat is the fact that they also come up with fucking stupid rules. We've seen some of them. And a lot of what I've shown you, according to Steven Pinker, at least based on the research made, are not supposed to be considered as authentic grammar rules. Why? Because they're actually Latin in nature. Let's go back to some examples we had. Split infinitives. The idea that you do not split infinitives is a Latin rule. Why Latin? In Latin language, infinitives are actually considered as one word. So in that language, you cannot split them. But the question is this: is that is that uh, also applicable in English? Who says it's supposed to be applicable in English? Who says we have to pattern the English language after the rules of the Latin language? Same thing. Do not end your sentence with a preposition. Again, that's a Latin rule. Another example here, do not start your sentence with a conjunction. Who says that? The Latin language says that, not the English language. So again, we go back to the question. Should we embrace all the rules imposed by these purists? See what this purist has caused us? Yeah, they caused this confusion we now have. Okay. But yeah, now coming from my own perspective, I am not here to really force you into choosing how you should writing grammar, and force yourself into making like and coming up with your identity. I want to be prescriptivist, I want to be descriptivist. No, because context would tell us when it's ideal to use one over the other. Okay. While I enjoy and I share a lot of the ideas put forward by Steven Pinker in his book The Sense of Style. By the way, he came up with the book Sense of Style as a response to White and Strong's Element of Style. So it was some sort of of um, trying to uh, reveal the false claims, quote unquote, made by Strunk and White. Okay, but yeah, as I was telling you, at the end of the day, you have to go back to the very reason why you write, the very reason why you put words into sentences. That is to make yourself clear. And if making yourself clear entails making use of structures that would do away with certain structures you were taught, then by all means do. Nobody is supposed to curtail your creativity in expressing your thoughts. Not even, yeah, the best grammar expert we have these days. Not even, Strunk and White, who happen to be considered as the authors of the holy grail of grammar. Okay? And with that, I would have to say thank you for